Welcome. We are so excited to be here with you today. I am Val Petty, and Jennifer Hawkins is our other host, and we are just thrilled to be able to share some of our love of mind-to-body connection and acupuncture points. So let's get started.
So we created this because the number one obstacle that we run into with people is that they just get stuck either in their health or their emotions. And we really believe that mind-body connection is the missing piece here, that when you know you can feel better, it's really frustrating when you just can't get there. You can't seem to get your body to cooperate, or your mind just gets stuck on the same loop. And we don't like getting stuck in cycles. It feels like we're beating our heads against a wall. And thinking through the problem seems to just be more of the same and keeping us stuck, because we have those 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day, so says research. And they predict that 80 to 90% of those thoughts per day are negative. And then 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. So we literally get stuck in a stress loop. And we think that mind-body connection is really a missing piece that a lot of people just don't know how to use, because we're just not, we know exercising is supposed to make us feel good, but there are a lot of other little body tools that we can use to unlock this knocking our head against a wall feeling, or health issues that won't go away, or emotional issues that we seem to be living over and over again. And so, like I said, regular people can do this for themselves. So we put these resources together to kind of kickstart learning what meridians are, what points are, how you can use essential oils to release different things. So let's get into it. What is mind-body connection?
Okay, so how are the mind and body connected? The vagus nerve, which is Latin for the wandering nerve, is a bunch of sensory nerves that connect the brainstem to the body. It carries signals to the digestive system, organs, muscles, and skin. And so why is this important? Well, when the body or the brain senses stress, signals are sent in both directions to put the body and the brain on defense mode, right? So that would be like fight or flight. This signal can get stuck on a loop, leaving us mentally, emotionally, and physically in a state of survival. And one really cool thing just to know about the nervous system, we were designed to live in a relaxed state, which is called your parasympathetic state of the nervous system, 80% of the time, which would mean that we would be relaxed and trusting and just calm. Okay. And then 20% of the time, we're designed to be in the sympathetic version of our nervous system, which is that fight or flight. The bear is chasing you, you're frantic, right? So unfortunately, in today's world, with the stress and the trauma and all that people experience, we have a tendency to spend 80% of our time in that fight or flight, anxious state, and only 20% of our time in a rested state. And what ends up happening is that our nervous system gets so taxed and is just exhausted. And so we live in survival mode instead of thriving the way that we were designed to live. And all of this is connected from the mind to the nervous system, and the vagus nerve, this wandering nerve, is what actually connects a lot of our thoughts to the feelings in our bodies.
Yeah, if you just look at that picture, so look at how many of those nerve bundles run into our gut. And it's, we've heard gut instinct, gut intuition, and it's a real thing, because your brain, it's not your mind. Your brain is what translates messages that are coming from your nervous system, from your body. Your body is sensing the world around you, and your brain is interpreting that into thoughts. And so that is what your mind is, the thoughts. And so if you look at that, like, you've got so many nerve endings in the stomach, you've got a lot of nerve endings around the heart, where the heart would be. So it's just really interesting that there is this very intelligent design that lives in our gut and our organs and stuff that we don't really think about, because we think that our brain, we think that those thoughts are the answers, but they're actually just the interpretation of what our body is trying to tell us. And so what are emotions? Emotions are energy in motion, emotion. They are vibrations that move through our body, and some will feel heavy and dense. Like, you just think about, grief, that is a heavy, dense emotions, while others are light and more expansive, like joy and love. Like they just have a lifting feeling that comes with them. And so why is this important? as we learn to recognize emotions, all the different types of emotions, and recognize the energy of that emotion that moves through our bodies, that gives us the power to identify thoughts and feelings that make up our beliefs. So our beliefs are what color our perspective of our life. They drive the momentum of our life. We make choices based on our beliefs. But beliefs can be broken down into those thoughts that our brain is interpreting and those sensations in our body that our vagus nerve is sensing. And so if we can bring the two together and get a really good picture of what we are actually basing our decisions on, how we're spending our energy, how the thoughts that we're thinking are driving our choices and ways that we see life, we can literally change the direction and course of our life and how we experience it. So that mind-body connection is putting all those pieces together, and it sounds really complicated, but in our course that we might mention several times because we go through a lot of this stuff in our course, we actually teach you how to walk through a body scan and pinpointing different places in our body, going back to, let's see if I can go back, I can. Think about the vagus nerve being behind the ear and the neck and how we feel protection in our neck, or how our shoulders will rise up around our ears when we feel like we need protection, or we feel like we want to control something, or we're stressed. That is a sensation that a lot of people are very, a lot of people have experienced that. So it's very common. But the truth is, like, if we knew that we were safe and if our mind could actually control that reaction, then we wouldn't have all this tension up in our shoulders. But the problem is that we can only say I'm safe so many times before our body, hears it. And that might take a lot longer than we want it to. And so we want to work on getting into it from the body side and figuring out where these energy and vibrations are affecting us physically in our body and address it from that side.
Okay, so let's look at fascia. Fascia is a thin casing of connected tissue, a matrix of collagen proteins and amino acids that hold every organ, blood vessel, bone, nerve, and muscle in place. It's basically like a sheath underneath your skin that goes from the bottom of your toes all the way to the top of your head. And this is important because fascia has nerves that make it almost as sensitive as the skin. So when you're stressed, that fascia tightens up, and it can also store the neurochemistry of emotion. So stress and trauma can build up in the fascia, making it thick and tight. This is why when maybe you've had like a deep tissue massage before, or somebody's really worked on your body, and maybe you are sobbing or crying, or you feel intense emotion, and it's because this neurochemistry from all this release of thoughts that turn to feelings in the body are stored within the fascia. And so when we have these deep, heavy emotions, these constricting emotions, like, grief and anger and frustration, all of that, it can really just cause that fascia to bunch up. We also see with this that people can carry like emotional weight, because as you have all these feelings that just stay tense and in your body, it can cause that fascia to harden. And all in all, it just, as the emotions stay trapped in the fascia and everything hardens, we can experience a lot of discomfort and pain. And it's just your body trying to signal you that you've got some things that might need to be worked out emotionally.
Yeah, all part of the emotional highway of your body. It's a big network system of different highways between the nerves and the fascia. And then here's another one. This is emotional chemistry. So what is emotional chemistry? It's called neurochemistry because the brain is the one that kind of starts the signals. So your mind signals a release of something called a neurotransmitter with every thought that you think. So whatever the quality of your thought is, your body is listening and responding by producing some sort of neurotransmitter. They are released at the end of a nerve fiber, and they create the feelings that we feel. Now, feelings and emotions aren't exactly the same thing. The emotion is the energy that moves through. The feeling is the sensation that we have about it, but they're very closely tied together. So why is that important? Well, each emotion that we experience is a different combination of neurotransmitters. And this picture looks a little grainy, I'm noticing here, but I can walk you through a few of them. So our body chemistry is affected by our thoughts, our environment, so the people and the situations that we surround ourselves with, and they can even be a pattern of habit that's on repeat until we interrupt it. So it might not just be your personality. It might not just be how things are. Like, you might actually have the ability to influence it and change it. So some of the emotions, Dr. Hugo Loveheim put together this theory of these combinations of serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline or norepinephrine. And that the 8 basic emotions: shame, distress or anguish, fear or terror, anger and rage, contempt and disgust, surprise or startled, enjoyment or joy, and then interest and excitement. Those are the 8 basic categories of emotions, and that every one of those has a different combination of neurotransmitters that is flowing through your body from cell to cell, from nerve ending to nerve ending. So shame could be described as a low level of serotonin, which is our happy chemical. That's the chemical that makes us feel happy. Dopamine is that reward chemical. It's also low dopamine, and it's also norepinephrine or low noradrenaline. So it's basically that we just kind of feel paralyzed, and shame is very debilitating. Moving towards something like anger, which is low serotonin, so you're still not very happy, but you have a very high dopamine and noradrenaline response. So in some ways, anger feels satisfying because you're getting that dopamine reward from it. And it's also very motivating because you're getting the noradrenaline, norepinephrine released from it, kind of raises your blood pressure. It puts you into action, but not very happy. Dr. Candace Pert is also worth mentioning here. She is the first person that discovered that there is something called a molecule of emotion, that it's not just an abstract energy or thought or sensation that doesn't have some sort of like response in your body, that there are actually chemicals or molecules in your body called neuropeptides. They are the emotions or the effects or the manifestation of the emotions flowing through your body. And so we can even look at this end of it and think, well, maybe I'm low on serotonin if I experience a lot of these emotions. Maybe I should look at gut health. That's something we're not going to get into today, but you can interrupt cycles of stress, patterns of negative thinking and feeling from the body side. And that frees your mind to also agree with that, and they can live on the same page. And then the whole perspective and trajectory of life changes.
Okay, so what is qi? In Chinese medicine, qi is the vital fluids and the energy itself that flow throughout our body through energy meridians. Basically, the body has these superhighways, as you can see on the graphic, these superhighways that run throughout the body. And within 24 hours every day, energy is supposed to flow freely through each of the highways or meridians within the body. And what ends up happening is these vital fluids, which is basically hormones and chemicals in our body that flow from cell to cell, and basically the energy itself, which is like electricity. So it's information in the form of electricity that flows along the fascia and through these meridians. But when we're stuck mentally or emotionally in our flow, our fascia gets blocked and we experience discomfort. And so what is acupuncture? Acupuncture is a technique in which practitioners create energy flow by stimulating specific points on the body, most often by inserting thin needles through the skin. And let me just say, Jennifer and I are not acupuncturists. You go to school for a long time to become an acupuncturist. And I value acupuncture so much. I go once a month. It's like my day of the month where I reset. I love it. It's my version of a massage. But what we have learned is that by learning some of the principles of acupuncture and learning how to use these points on the body that we're going to teach you in just a minute, we are able to create flow within the body as if we had been to an acupuncture session. So it just is so cool because it gives you the opportunity to really, use these principles at home. So when something pops up and you can't run to the acupuncturist really quickly, you actually have the framework to be able to do a lot of this body work on yourself. And this is important because when you're applying pressure to specific points on the body, acupressure, you can create flow and it helps you process emotional energy. So for example, we want to create that mind-body agreement. And if you're, self-helping yourself saying like, oh, I am so peaceful. I am so safe. But your body doesn't believe what you're saying because maybe you've had enough trauma, enough experiences where the body's like, I don't really feel that. You don't have those chemicals rolling in your body. Like you're saying it, but you don't really mean it. We can actually use this principles of acupressure, principles of acupuncture to move this energy within the body. And so it's just another way, when you can't reason things out always, it's another way to just create that flow within the body that causes so much pain and discomfort mentally and physically, and create the flow that we're looking for so that we will be able to gain a new perspective, feel better, move out of discomfort, and live a much more enjoyable, joyful life.
And so what do essential oils have to do with this? We're going to assume if you're watching this that you already have and use essential oils, love essential oils. So we're not going to give a basic rundown of what essential oils are, but what they do is they can stimulate or calm the nervous system. They can go either way. You've got your sympathetic and your parasympathetic parts of the nervous system. We can arouse the nervous system, or we can calm it down and go back into that rest and digest state that we're supposed to spend a whole lot more time in that we don't. You can create warming and cooling sensations. So when we teach people to do a body scan and you notice that certain area of your body, like I can't quite visualize warmth going there, then maybe you need like a warming oil to help. So you can actually just change the physical sensation that you're feeling through your skin and your muscles. You can relax tense muscles. So going back to that shoulder example, when your shoulders are pulled up around your ears and your neck, there are oils that will actually smooth those muscles out and relax them and warm them. So when your shoulders relax and come down, all of a sudden your lungs are able to take a deeper breath. There's just different parts of your nervous system that agree, like a big sigh of relief. It's collective through your mind and every cell of your body whenever your shoulders can just relax. It supports a balanced body chemistry. So essential oils have been found to actually help clean up the receptors of your cells with ways that we gunk it up with life, and actually helps to keep that flow going because the cells communicate better when those receptors are clean and don't have other things blocking them. It stimulates blood flow. You can increase circulation. You can increase the output of blood and strength of the heart pumping. You can support lymph movement with essential oils. Things like lemongrass get your lymphs flowing. Grapefruit is also really good for that. Cypress is really good for that. And these essential oils are such small molecules that they penetrate things like constricted fascia. You need fascia to be supple and pliable. And when it gets hard from a lot of stress, then you actually need to soften it again so that it can release some of the stuff that gets stuck in there. So some oils that we're going to use today and talk about. If you want to get them out, you can take them along with us. It's geranium, eucalyptus, helichrysum, cilantro, cardamom, lemon, juniper, ylang ylang, wintergreen, and thyme. So you can grab those and have them ready and use them along with us as we go through these next points.